At Council Bluffs Savings Bank, our goal is to help you, your families, and your businesses grow and prosper for generations. We take pride in our community, whether it's volunteering our time or helping individuals, families, and businesses succeed. We provide you with the personal service and attention you deserve. With over 220 years of banking experience, decisions are made locally. We are Council Bluffs people operating at Council Bluffs Bank to help Council Bluffs be a better place to work and live. Council Bluffs Savings Bank. Hometown banking, the way it used to be. Member FDIC.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call the meeting to order and would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public hearings. Excuse my voice. This is the time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Ordinance 6218, which amends the zoning map as adopted by reference in section 15.27.020B. by rezoning property generally lying south of Avenue G between Curtis Street and north of 6th and 7th Street, north of the vacated Avenue D, more particularly described from R2 two-family residential district to R3 low-density multifamily residential district, as defined in Chapter 15.10. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
Unreceived.
Are there any oral protests of this matter? Anyone who would wish to speak against? Seeing none, is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor?
Thank you for your consideration of this matter.
You're welcome. And if others want to, please approach the podium and give your name and address for the record, but we're good. All right, now what's the council's pleasure?
Motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 14-268 to vacate and dispose of both the north-south alleys in Block 65 Railroad Edition and that part of 20th Street extending from 26th to 27th Avenue. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Are there any oral protests to this matter? Anyone who wishes to speak against? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor? Seeing none, what's the council's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 14-269 granting final plat approval for a 10-lot residential, including multifamily subdivision to be known as Beacon Place 2, being a replat of lots 16 through 17, block 37, lots 1 through 24, block 47, and lots 1 through 24, block 48, all in Railroad Edition, along with a portion of the vacated 25th Avenue, a portion of vacated 20th Street, and vacated alleys within the same. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Are there any oral protests of this matter? Anyone who wishes to speak against? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Madam Clerk.
Ordinances on second reading. Ordinance 6216, establishing the gun school urban revitalization area within the city of Council Bluffs.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
As I stated in the last council meeting, I support the ordinance, but I look forward to the time when we can take these revitalization areas and make them available to homeowners and small businesses. So that's something I'll continue to pursue with the city.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Ordinance 6217 to amend Chapter 1.32 Purchasing by amending Sections 1.32.010 through 1.32.090.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
I was going to offer a motion to approve with as amended.
Yeah, go ahead.
So-
Read your amendment in if you would, Al.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
You're fine.
Thought you had. Okay. Stuck that away. I apologize.
No, I should have given you a heads up.
I thought, my apologies to Dick. I thought he had that. Did I hand that off to you, Dick?
Not today.
Oh, dear. Oh, this is embarrassing.
You're fine.
Okay, here we go. The amendment changes section 1.3010 by striking the words state law and substituting the Iowa Code and the Iowa Administrative Code. And the purpose of this amendment is to make sure that we make it clear that the way that we procure these services are consistent with the requirements of Iowa statute and their administrative code guidance.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And now on the ordinance as amended, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance on third reading, ordinance 6215, continued from September 22nd, 2014, amending the zoning map as adopted by reference in section 15.02.040 by rezoning the property located at 629 6th Avenue from R3 low-density multifamily residential to AP administrative professional as defined in chapter 15.13.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion?
Just want to thank fellow veterans for turning out on this particular matter. This is something that definitely needs to be completed, and I appreciate the statement that you guys have provided to the community prior to this evening by turning out here this evening. So I'm proud to vote in favor, and thank you. I'm proud of you guys for turning out for it.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, just as stated last meeting, have been in favor of this zoning change all along. Understand that we need this facility. We're just trying to give an opportunity. It was the day after a newspaper article. We were trying to give an opportunity to the County Board of Supervisors to provide some information. I can say I didn't receive any information, but I had said at that time it would be back on the agenda tonight and that I would vote in favor of that. So.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I have supported and continue to support completely the building of a new facility for our veterans. So secondly, at the same time, we need to take very seriously how your tax money is spent. And we, your city government, must never forget that we represent nearly 3 out of every 4 residents of our county. And so it is our job to do all we can to make certain that your hard-earned money is being spent appropriately, especially when specific allegations to the contrary are raised. And I think it's important for people to know that the particulars, this was not gotten into detail in the newspaper, and so I think people need to know the particulars of this specific rezoning request, describe in detail the new Veterans Building and its surroundings, And recently, we were told that current construction costs indicate that the project is probably at least $600,000 short, so bids won't even be let till next year, with the hope that pricing will be lower then. This possible shortage is after taking into account, by the way, the $1.5 million that you, the voters, approved at a special election this past March, a special election that itself cost over $40,000 to hold specially. Whenever any project that requires a zoning change appears like it might not be able to meet its requirements, it is in fact the direct responsibility of this council to take such information into account as we make our decision on the rezoning request. I want to say that very serious allegations have been made. I believe the people must not be left to guess the truth of the matter. It's the taxpayers' money we're talking about, over $1.5 million of it. And I believe the people have a right to know the whole truth, whatever it may be. As I said at the last council meeting, if the allegations are true, they are very disturbing. If the allegations are not true, then the making of baseless allegations is unconscionable. I think it's important for people to know who maybe haven't followed this as closely as some have, that the serious allegations raised suggest that an opportunity existed for someone other than the taxpayer to fund at least a sizable, if not all, the costs of this entire, very much needed project for our veterans. Our 2-week postponement of the rezoning request did not delay the construction of that building by even 1 minute. A postponement of the rezoning request did, however, and pursuant to our duty regarding this rezoning request, allow those public officials alleged to be seriously misspending taxpayer money an opportunity to give their side of the story. So far, rather than take this opportunity to tell their side of the story, threats of lawsuits have been made by some county officials, and I stress some. I want to end by saying the Veterans Building project, again, is very much truly needed, and I support and have always supported it. As we sit here now, it's quite clear that I believe we as a council have done our duty to seek out the facts by giving everyone a chance to speak to these serious allegations. It may very well be the case that the accusations are mistaken or just plain wrong. I hope we find out. Whatever the truth may be, we, your city government, must take extra care to oversee the monies spent on this project are spent appropriately, and that we and the taxpayers must hold to account anyone who acts otherwise.
I guess my brief comments will be just that it's a shame that such a positive development in addition to our city has been surrounded in controversy, rumor, allegation. It's an unfortunate situation. The only emails I got were not informational, just sort of bullying, which is also unfortunate. So I, of course, am going to vote once again in favor of this, but I just want to reiterate that it's a shame that some of this negativity occurred over what should have been a regular act of business.
All right. Any further comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolutions, Resolution 14-270, approving the use of 2015 Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Program funds, and directing the mayor to submit the 2015 annual plan to the City of Omaha and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 14-271, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Anderson Excavating Company for the 110 South 28th Street demolition and restoration project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 14-272, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Snyder and Associates Incorporated for engineering services in connection with the South First Street Neighborhood Rehab Phase 5 project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 14-273, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with the Shimmer Associates Incorporation for engineering services in connection with the Lower Bennett Rehab Phase 6 project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 14-274, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute Iowa Department of Transportation Addendum Number 2012-4-189B in connection to Agreement Number 2012-4-189 for the I-29 Interstate Improvements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 14-275, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Earhart Griffin and Associates for engineering services in connection with the North 27th Street Rehab Phase 2 project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
I will be abstaining from this vote.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Ringenberg,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
White,
Abstain.
Brannigan,
Aye.
Head.
Aye.
Resolution 14-276, authorizing the city clerk to certify the weed assessments to the Potawatomi County Treasurer to be collected in the same manner as a property tax.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 14-277, authorizing the city clerk to certify the solid waste nuisance assessments to the Potawatomi County Treasurer to be collected in the same manner as a property tax.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 14-278, authorizing the city clerk to certify the 2014 garbage, water, and sewer liens to the Potawatomi County Treasurer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
I would like to have discussion on this. This is the third resolution in a row where we're assessing properties for either you're leaving garbage outside, you're not taking care of your property, or you're not paying your garbage bill. This is over $300,000 in assessments. And I know I sound like a broken record. This comes up every few months and I say the same thing, but I want to say it again. Shame on the residents for not paying their bill on time when it's due. I mean, the city is basically acting as your banker for an extra 60 days, and I really wish that people would pay their bills on time, that people would mow their weeds and pick up their trash.
Any other discussion?
At the study session earlier this afternoon, I made a second request to the city staff to take the spreadsheets that contain this information and post them on the website for the city so that residents have a place where they can periodically go to check to see if, God forbid, their address shows up on this lien list. And I did that because I have some darling neighbors, always take care of business, and I noticed that their address was on this particular list, and they had no clue, and were horrified to think that a lien had been placed. So I asked the city to please make that available so that people can have a place to periodically look up and see if they're on the naughty list, if you will, so that they can take action, and hopefully that will be done soon.
I just want to say that I think it's important to remember that this is a too large group of individuals, but compared to the vast majority who, of course, do pay their bills on time, are in many ways, when we can't collect this money, everyone else, the rest of us, are having to pay. And as Councilmember Brannigan rightly put, this time it's over $300,000 that in many instances we'll obviously try to collect, but we won't always collect. And so the rest of us, when the bills are as high as they are and when they go up, every few years. Remember that it's because some people aren't paying their bills. I really think as we look forward, we've got to continue to express enforcement so that we don't make everyone else subsidize. And the one thing I did want to mention is there was some discussion in study session this afternoon about how in one particular instance there is a special interest break that was approved at the state level that if a house is being rented, we on your behalf, on the taxpayer's behalf, can't lien against that house if the renter is late with their garbage bill. In this particular list, we're told that at least 62 of the properties are properties we have no recourse against because the state has said, in that instance, those folks got a special interest break that doesn't apply to anyone else. And so I'd leave it to you to decide whether that's fair as you absorb that cost.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Applications for permits and cancellations 8A and B.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Madam Clerk, any citizens' requests to be heard?
None received.
Anyone from the audience like to address the council? Name and address for the record, please.
Bruce Kelly, 864 Mackenzie Avenue. I got a few things I'd like to ask about. The city took out the crossing lights for pedestrians on 9th Avenue between 29th and 30th. I know DeForest School is closed, but most all those kids go to Rue School. They do not have a place to cross anymore. Either, I know if the wiring's back in there, if they could be put back up. If not, the best place would be on 32nd and 9th Avenue. But it's a funny thing, and that's this one thing I'm gonna bring up to the school board is 1.5 blocks are in Edison. That's Ash Street and half of Birch Street. But my grandchildren live down there, and there's other people that live between 28th and 9th Avenue and 36th on the south side of 9th Avenue. And I don't know why they took them out. I don't know because DeForest isn't there anymore, but it'd be nice to have those put in so people could have a cross. My second deal is the way things are done. I know my brother, 5 years, he's been trying to get the curb fixed at his house. The city just says you're on a list. And what's your address? 3803 Rommel. Mackenzie Avenue. I have a tree that I've been going over with the Parks Department for 3 years to get cut up. I say it's on private property. And they came out 3 times and said it needs to be cut, and he's going to put in to make sure it gets cut. They said they've sent letters twice to the residents, and the tree is still there hitting the vehicles. My next thing is what I read in the paper about a bike trail. I've been to the Mid-City planning, I've been to the Broadway planning, and all of a sudden, the Mid-City, there was outrageous stuff proposed. Ponds, lakes, water slides, everything. And it's commercial property. I know the businesses and the residential, it's just a fight among these people down there. I told them, because I have a building on 13th and 6th Avenue, and I said, you know, that building's in the floodplain. Didn't know it. And most of that property down there from 5th Avenue to Avenue B is contaminated from everything. And then they go, oh, it's just this one lot. No, it isn't. You had JB's Towing, that ground has to be contaminated underneath. You had other businesses down there, it has to be contaminated under. Small commercial growth is what we need in this town, and that's one of the best places. And one of the first things I heard was, I don't want no trucks in my neighborhood. We need our businesses, and that's a small business area that we need, because I have one of the only last small buildings down in that area that is zoned, that can be used. And if I want to build this building in a designated new zone, this building that's worth 50, 60,000 would cost me over $250,000 to rebuild. The same size. The next thing, and I'm going to say, is we got a study going on Broadway. We spent $250,000 for someone to come in and tell us what we should be, you know, bring up ideas and everything else. Thing is, half the stuff has already been made. The city has already made up their mind what they're going to do. This bike trail between 25th and 27th and TJ. And then you go and say, well, no, the bike trail is going to be on 2nd Avenue. So you're going to go to 2nd Avenue, and then on 25th go down over to 1st Avenue, and then ride down that with all these kids and stuff like that, coming across and everything else like that. And the 27th, then you go back to 2nd Avenue. And when I went to the Broadway deal, they were talking about maybe a street going through with a trail. Then all of a sudden, this comes up. A month later, you guys already made your mind. You guys had to already apply to the state to get the money for them to permit it. It already had to be before you spent the $250,000 that we didn't need, because you've already made up your mind. So why we're doing this? You got a county that's out of control. I don't know if any of you ever gone to a supervisor meeting, or if any of you went to the supervisor meeting and asked about what happened to this VA deal. Did any of you go and attend go to one of their meetings and ask them?
Yes.
Why?
Asked outside of the meeting. They're during the workday when most folks, like myself, are working.
Well, that's the thing. We got to get change with them, because and then I found out that you can't just walk in and do what I'm doing right now at a county supervisor meeting. You have to request it, and they can deny it or accept it. I'm not happy with them and everything else. There's a lot of rumors on everything going on, but I talked to the north, and then people wanted to know why, because I live on the east end of town, why I care what happened to Broadway and stuff. If you want to know, the people around this area want growth on Broadway. They don't want to go down to the Manawa Center, because it's just a big hassle to get down there. At one time, there was supposed to be, I don't know if anyone remember, South 25th Street was supposed to connect to the South 24th Street. There was supposed to be a viaduct. Anyone remember that?
I do not.
That's why in the lot in Griffin Pike, there's a place there that belongs to either the city or county, where they build up where a pylon was supposed to go if they built the viaduct. And then there's always the rumor on 9th Avenue. Is there ever going to be a viaduct across the tracks?
You know, you got a lot of questions.
It's
And I'll
been a rumor
touch
going
on
around.
some of them. When that viaduct was built, it was hoped that 9th Avenue would be able to access onto the south viaduct. The issue was with the railroad tracks. the elevation you needed to attain to get over the top of the railroad tracks precluded being able to start that viaduct in 9th Avenue, so we had to push it back to 7th Avenue or wherever it starts. They're currently consolidating the railroad lines in conjunction with the interstate improvement, which moves the lines further to the south, which potentially could happen someday. Now, it's a very expensive process to do that, and that's a state highway currently.
I'm talking
So
about,
the
I'm
DOT
talking about 9th Avenue. Strictly
It's
9th
exactly what I talked about, 9th Avenue. I
9th
just gave you an
Avenue, where the
explanation.
tracks on 12th Street and the ones down off of
Oh, I
17th
thought you were
Street or
talking about the
18th
South
Street.
Expressway.
Nope.
No,
And we need a we got too much traffic going east and west.
it's very expensive to do
That
that.
I know it is, but it would relieve
So
traffic.
the tracks are at 17th and the tracks are at 12th, and so you'd have to span
Yeah,
all that.
all
It's
that.
very expensive.
I know it's expensive, but we had to put a there all the way through Council Bluffs. And then I read 9th Avenue is really busy with bikes. I go down 9th Avenue all the time because my mother lives on Birch Street and stuff like that. I barely ever see a bicycle on 9th Avenue. I don't know where this Mr. Foster or whatever he said in it,
I don't know.
where he gets it.
The mid-city corridor that you talked about, people had all these grandiose ideas. Those were people like yourself that were citizens that came out and gave their opinion. You talked about West Broadway, and the city hasn't made up their mind. The city's made up their mind. They don't care. Actually, beginning this week, there will be citizen input as to what happens in West Broadway. So I'd encourage you to go to those meetings and make
I do
yourself.
go, and we had that down here in this city building. There was one of you guys there.
I was there,
I was there.
and I
Yeah.
would say that,
Wasn't it
The
a good
top-
wasn't it a good meeting?
it was a good meeting, and what the topic that you discussed about, it was supposed to be a road on First, that came up at that meeting at our table, because there were questions about it, and they said it was never planned that it would be a road behind TJ because of the fact that they have, is it their gym or their state, something
Well,
is on the other side.
TJ has,
So
Well,
we-
the thing is,
we would
with
never
the
have
city,
put a
I'm
road.
gonna say, this is money, you gotta, really, if you wanna finish a trail, get a hold of the state of Iowa, if they wanna give money,
that's
finish the
exactly
one
who's
on,
paying for it.
huh?
80% of those trails are paid for by the state of Iowa.
Which means you're taking it from one pocket of mine out of another pocket. I'm paying over $500 a month.
Comes out of
Is
road
it-
use tax.
It still comes out of my pocket.
Yeah. When you use the fuel, it comes out of your pocket. That's right.
If they wanna finish something, why don't they finish it over Canesville from McKenzie Avenue to Sims? We had people walking in the highway. If you wanna finish a trail, finish that one. The one that where people can get killed.
It's a state highway. Talk to the DOT.
No, I'm talking to you. You guys can talk to the DOT. You're getting the money from the state of Iowa. You can suggest to them, hey, it stops right there. Who built that up to there? Did the state of Iowa?
I believe Iowa West paid for that, to be honest with you.
Well, it needs to be, and then the only thing that the state of Iowa, and I already know, because you mentioned it, there's no way they're ever gonna put the other lane in on, down there, down the hill. Where it goes from 2 to 1.
Yeah.
You'll never see that. I already know that. And the state of Iowa, here's their say, well, we're gonna cut that hill down someday. Well, now I heard that the state of Iowa wants Council Bluffs to maintain Broadway.
City,
The state does.
It's true.
that's correct.
They do.
And the only thing is, and this is what gets me, their budgets is showing good. Now they're gonna shift the burden onto us. That's what they did to Potawatomi County, shift the burden to someone else. So that they look like the bad guy. We just gotta say no.
Okay. Thank you very much. Russ, did you want to?
Jeez.
Russell Slate, 253 Euclid Avenue. I just have a concern and a question. Twice now we've broken the ground for the Bronze Eagle, and nothing's been done since the second ground breaking. In World War II, 11.73% of the people joined the services to provide for their country. Vietnam, it was down to 4.73%. Now, it's at 0.41% of people volunteering for their country. We need something besides Bayless Park to have it finished so the young people will understand. Last meeting I went to, it was all about history. All about history. I said twice now the ground's been broken and nothing's been performed. I would like to see it finished, please, so I could take my grandkids there and explain it to them.
We
The
don't,
city's not
Is
doing
that
that
a city
project.
project?
it isn't a city project, though we did donate the space on city ground at the depot.
Right.
We gave that for free, because it's important to have it at the entrance where a lot of servicemen, particularly in the Second World War, came and
Went into that
and came
depot.
back, yes.
Yes, but as the city versus me,
I'll check into it
you
for
know,
you, Russ.
I
could
can't
send a
strong arm them. You guys got the power. I do not.
What group is in charge of that, by the way?
Well, it was a group of volunteers, and there's been, as Russ said, fits and starts, and they wanted to get the money available to finish the project. Then bids came in high, they needed to raise some more money, so that took some, to my understanding, they have raised the money. We did have a groundbreaking, a contractor was hired, union bricklayers were gonna help out, and I don't know what the current status is, to be honest with you, and so I'll find out and report back to you.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be careful walking back.
That's gonna come up.
Be careful, be careful.
I'm good. I've landed on my head, I'll be fine.
My name's James Wayman Jr. I live out in Brentwood Heights, not in the city, but I came down for a couple of reasons. One, to support my veterans, fellow veterans. The other one was there was an article in the paper in regards to Greenview Road and the city allowing a building, a subdivision out there. Talked about it about 10 years ago, fell apart, and now they're back again, which doesn't bother me a lot. Maybe it'll stop the wind from blowing across to my property, since I'm right on Greenview Road. But the question that I'm bringing up to the council, did they change the law in Iowa where you could have a development that would create an island of county property? Do you know anything about that?
No, they did not change that law.
Okay, so that subdivision where they're still talking about Greenview and Franklin or whatever it is out there, it would create an island on Longview Loop there. And so I'm just kind of curious why they're even coming up with it again.
It's that property's actually already in the city.
That city, the west side of that street is already in the city, sir. That is the line. Franklin is the line a good distance of the way.
Right, I understand over there.
Yeah.
But I'm talking south of where Greenview Road runs from Valley View up there. That section is already city, self-annexed,
Yeah.
where the new fire station is on Valley View Drive.
Yes, sir.
But if you go on up over the hill, where the little hot air balloon water tower is and
Yes.
Greenview Road there,
Yeah.
past Longview Loop.
Yeah.
See, and they're talking about that subdivision being out there, across the road from me. And like I say, it was in the paper the other day. Now whether,
Well, the
Yeah.
property that the subdivision's going on is already in the city limits, so there won't be any annexation, there won't be any changes. I looked at the plat maps when I actually saw in the newspaper too, they were doing it, because it hasn't come to us yet. It's already
I
in
think
the,
within the original developer, who was a subsidiary of Dial Company.
right, over here, over in Omaha.
And they're not the developer now, but when they came, I think that was annexed into the city back then.
Including Longview Loop?
Not long ago,
No.
no.
Okay, well, that will be the question, I guess, that will come up, is will it create an island there with that Longview Loop?
We'll take a look into it.
And that'll go to the plan.
We do have some areas of significant peninsulas. For example, my own mother lives in a peninsula of Garner Township, surrounded on three sides by the city. That happens a lot. As you look, that district of the city is precinct 10, A and B. you'll see a lot of unusual
Yeah, but
lines
they're still
throughout time.
connected
They're still connected.
Oh, yeah,
to the county.
indeed,
See,
indeed.
where this part, if they did that, it would not be connected. There would be no connection, that this would create an island right there on between Valley View and Franklin in that area on Longview Loop.
I'd have to see it, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
your
I
visual.
just thought I'd stop
It
up.
goes-
But I appreciate it.
It goes before the planning commission tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the library. I think they meet if you wanna.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Well,
And then-
Unfortunately, I gotta go to a funeral.
Yeah, it'll-
But I just thought maybe I'd check if they changed that law. If they haven't changed the law,
you can write a note and have it submitted to them, give it to the city clerk.
to ask them if there's,
Yes,
how
so
that all
that's
is gonna work there.
yeah, so that your question gets heard. I highly recommend, even if you write it on a note, we'll give you a piece of paper and give it to the clerk.
the other thing is if they start doing that, do I call you folks when all the dust starts?
No,
Part of construction.
You just call the mayor.
Thank you, sir.
anybody else tonight? If you want to, yeah, on any issue.
My name is Phil Jacobs. I live at 29348 Delta Avenue in Trainer, Iowa. I'm the chairman of the Potawatomi County Veterans Affairs Office. As far as the office goes, I've been involved every step of the way. And what I would like is, if you have questions, ask me. I will tell you what you want to know. I wasn't at every meeting as far as with the foundations. I wasn't at those meetings, so I don't know what happens to at those. I can't speak to that. But where I was at was the Board of Supervisors office in their meetings and in our commission meetings where we did approvals and did what we had to do to get this building built. So I would rather you ask me a question if you have one.
I went back through the minutes. I just couldn't find anything in their minutes that where it was discussed as far as the potential for funding from a nonprofit. So, that was why I asked if they come and explain to us, why they chose not to go that direction. Because ultimately it's the supervisors who voted to send it for a bond issue and held special elections. So, but
Right.
I could find nothing in their minutes where this nonprofit issue had been discussed, and so if
The
you know the date
nonprofit,
or
and be honest with you, I don't know how far that was researched. I know there's a lot of rumor going around. Last year there was a meeting from the Iowa West Foundation and the Lakin Foundation. And in that meeting, they discussed a survey of veterans' needs. And they were going to put up $50,000 to do this survey with. Darlene McMartin, who is head of the Veteran Affairs Office, went down there to answer questions on what her office does. And she went there and explained what her office does. She explained surveys that the state of Iowa has done, and with her 20 years of experience dealing with veterans, what she felt veterans needed in Potawatomi County. Transportation being the main one. After that meeting, that $50,000 survey ceased to exist. I guess they either voted or decided at that meeting not to proceed with that survey.
was that the meeting that she left? Because I know that's all I've got is what was in the paper. So I read what you read. I don't have anything else. Was that the meeting that she left? Why it went away? Because I don't have anything, any other information on it.
The actions of Darlene McMartin at that meeting, I do not know exactly what happened. But what I do know is Darlene McMartin has dealt with state senators, state Congress. She's been on the state commission for years. She's even been a part of the national NAFCOs, which is the National County Veteran Affairs Officers. She was the president of that. I think she knows how to conduct herself at a meeting. And as far as the embarrassment that happened at that meeting, I can tell you what she told me happened at that meeting, but that would be hearsay, and I don't want to.
And really, we passed to vote the zone, or to change the
Yes, you
zoning.
did, and I appreciate
We
that.
had
Thank
planned to
you.
do that from the beginning. I don't know that, since I wasn't at the meeting and you weren't at those meetings, I don't really know if we know what happened, but
Right.
it
And
doesn't
there was no
change.
minutes taken, so
Well,
we can't.
you
rely on
know,
that.
just briefly, talking to some of the folks who were willing to talk to me and answer some questions, because I was curious what happened at the meeting, and I still honestly don't know. I know some people's version of events, but I also know sometimes people, quite honestly, remember things differently. And so far, the only pieces I get is that it didn't get to the point of talking about dollars and cents for the building or the ground, but it was felt by the folks who maybe were going to offer it that there just, for whatever reason, there wasn't any interest to get the money from them, so they didn't get to that point. So the question is, why? And honestly, I don't know. I mean, as a taxpayer, I have to tell you that I would, if somebody's saying, you know, I would want to get to the money before I didn't meet with them anymore. And I'm just curious. And honestly, as we sit here, we still don't know. And that's disturbing to me. There may very well be an explanation, but we wanted to hear it.
The only thing I can tell you is that Iowa West Foundation and Lakin have never approached our commission in opening up dialogue or anything in that fashion.
Okay. I appreciate
So as far as whether we turned them down or accepted it or not, there was never an opportunity to do so.
But from where we're sitting, the newspaper article came out, and then 24 hours later, we're sitting here to have a vote, and it was, in my opinion, a prudent thing to do, to stop, take a moment, try to gather some more information, and we do this frequently on things that come up. If there's questions that come up at the last minute, we take a moment because we want all the information that we can get before we take a vote. And especially when we found out that it wasn't going to be going out for bids until January, February. Delaying 2 weeks did not harm the process, in our opinion. And it was over, you know, the balance of information. We would rather get some information to make an informed decision rather than just rushing ahead just because. So that's, I mean, it was really, I feel, a pretty simple matter. We just stopped, asked questions, and then tonight we did business. We're back to business.
And I want to thank you for coming. You know, you didn't have to do that, and you put yourself up there to answer questions, and I really appreciate that. I wish
Thank you.
one of the members of the Board of Supervisors would have done this for us, but you did, and I appreciate that very much. I really do.
Well, and now you know that we exist, and I know a lot of people out there don't. But anytime this city council has any questions or anything like that that they need about the Veterans Office or the building, please feel free to give me a call. I will come and answer the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the best
Thank you
of
so
my
much,
abilities.
sir.
Thank you.
We
I
appreciate it.
appreciate your comments, especially about Darlene, because she busts her back to try and do the right thing for this veterans community, and she deserves a pat on the back instead of a kick in the rump. So
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Jeff, did you?
My name is Jeff Jorgensen. I live at 201 Shaley Circle. I'm here. Everybody mentions some article that they read in a nonpareil, and that's the reason I'm here. I read the same article. The article was written by a publisher of the nonpareil, Tom Schmidt. It was very critical of the County Board of Supervisors, all of whom are Republicans. Next time Mr. Schmidt writes a letter, I think he ought to have a disclaimer that he's in support of Tom Hannafin, the former mayor, who's also running for Board of County Supervisors as an independent, former Democratic mayor.
So if the newspaper brings up something that should be of a concern to the taxpayers,
If
it's political,
Well,
party-based?
the article wasn't even correct in its assumption of some of the things that were stated. So how can we determine anything from an article that's not correct, not factual? So I'm putting my cynical hat on tonight, and that's the dots that I connect. So just to let you know, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Al?
I didn't even know they were all Republicans.
My name is Al Ruby. I reside here in Council Bluffs. I appreciate you guys listening. One of the most important things to me, when this bond issue had passed, I can't figure out why the people that are running for re-election, they knew they were going to be short before it even started. And to correct your price of 600,000, try 750,000 is what's short, not 600,000.
I appreciate being corrected, thank you.
You know, and I've talked with the mayor. We've had conversations. I don't even know where to begin. I think that if people are going to use their political stance to gain ground, to get somewhere, and use the citizens and the taxpayers' money, I think it's wrong. And I think that first of all, I know that HGM there by the county, the city uses HGM, but I'm so tired of hearing about HGM this and HGM that where does it show that either the city or the county went out for somebody else besides HGM? I don't see where it shows that at all. And as far as I'm concerned, you know what that is? That's called a monopoly. If you're going to use one person and continue to use that one person, well, I've got issues with that. You're spending my money.
And if I may, we recently addressed this issue of updating our policy about the provision of professional services, which is a fancy way of saying when we hire engineers, architects, lawyers, outside lawyers. Because before we didn't have a written policy, so there was no way to objectively say, well, why did this company get it? Did the other ones get a fair shake?
I don't buy that. You know what? I don't buy that for 1 minute. I'm going to tell you why. When I own a business,
Yeah.
and when I got to put a bid in,
Yeah.
so that person just uses me, that's not going to happen. The city and the county, it's your right to go out and get more than one bid.
Oh, I agree. Before we didn't have.
But you know, not to be rude to interrupt, but you just said, well, before we had rules. No, there is no rules in this game.
Excuse me if I did, I misspoke. We had no written rules. There apparently was departmental oral understandings, and we directed that wasn't enough. And there's now crafting, and it'll come up probably as an administrative policy, which means it's implemented by the mayors, not the council.
Okay, then why is it the city goes out and gets bids for other things? But you didn't on this bid. It seems to me that HGM.
State law requires it. First of all, this is a county project, so but fair enough, I take your point. There's certain things state law requires us to do it, and there are other ones where I agree with you. Common sense says we should do it, and that's what I've been pushing, and I think most folks have been pushing to do that, because I share your concern. I agree with you, I believe.
And isn't our economy growing?
We certainly hope so.
Yes.
Okay, so if our economy is growing, what do you think the price of that building's going to be?
Indeed.
You think it's just going to go down? It's going to be an easier buy? It's going to get it cheaper? That's not going to happen.
No, I agree with you.
It's going to be more.
Yeah.
And to think that we had politicians at exactly what they were, politicians, trying to get a vote and pass this through. It's the same way with when we did the Bronze Eagle. The Bronze Eagle was a 10-year project. It should have been a 5. My point that I'm making is, how much of this money was out there that HGM charged for this?
Yeah, again, Alan, I just tell you, it's a county deal, that the city's done some research at the bequest of Councilman Watson about contracts for professional services, which includes architectural, engineering, those types of things. HGM did a little more than 30% of the work in the community. They are a Council Bluffs business with 50-some residents of Council Bluffs that work for them. And so historically, they're familiar with our infrastructure, which is where most of their work is involved in infrastructure with the city. So,
And I still think it needs to go out for another bid.
yeah.
You know, whether it's the county or it's the city. There's issues that we have here, and it seems like everybody's playing politician. And don't take this wrong, but I've mentioned this to you before. I think sometimes when a politician's lips are moving, he's lying. And 9 times out of 10, it's a fact. And when I talk to you,
Wish I could do a ventriloquist, but I can't.
Can I mention something to you?
Sure.
Along the lines with the engineering, the city staff is already, they know the sentiment of the council. And for example, this evening, we approved 3 engineering contracts. Snyder, Schemmer, and I forget the other one, Earhart Griffin. But what city staff has tried to do to appease the council in the direction that we're going is, as part of the write-up, which is public, in the council packet. And the last bullet point, when they're talking about the project, they're actually telling us now why they selected that engineering firm. So if you're seeing these projects in the future and you have time and the inclination, look through the information and look for that last bullet point that tells you why that engineering firm was chosen. And that's been helpful to me,
Well,
because I had the same question. And then regarding your point on politicians and votes, and I was gonna bring this up at the next meeting, but I'll do it now because people are doing absentee votes. You know, we all have the opportunity to make our voices and our opinions heard by casting votes. And if you don't agree with what the current Board of Supervisors have done, cast your vote.
Well, and I understand that, but it's pretty hard when the damage is done.
That is true. That is true. But we can change it for the
We will work
future.
very diligently to get this building
Yeah.
built, so.
Well, and you know yourself, you mentioned that you yourself think that it wouldn't be built.
Yeah, I'm very concerned that it.
Yeah.
The very fact is,
Indeed.
you know, and I know a lot of this is county, and I the guy that I'm with tonight said, you know, you want to go to a county meeting at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning.
Difficult to do.
Yeah.
Because people are working.
It's,
It's
Well, we
very
were asked
difficult.
earlier if we went to a meeting about this. They held a special meeting. If there was 24 hours notice, there was barely 24 hours
It was
notice.
not
There was not,
24 hours.
not all.
I
And
don't
the
believe that
meetings
it
are not
could have been.
televised like ours. Sorry, Sharon.
And emailed us and asked, you know, invited us to attend. Well, we're at the Iowa League of Cities meetings, trying to learn the things we need to know.
We were also the hosts, if I may
And
say.
we were hosting it, our city was hosting it. So there was no way that I could attend that. But like I say, the notice that I received was definitely less than 24 hours before the meeting. So
Same.
no, I didn't attend that meeting, but it was because I was already engaged and it was a special meeting. It wasn't even a regular meeting, so.
By law, Iowa law, they wouldn't have been allowed to attend because it would have been a violation of the open meetings law.
Yeah, we can't all attend, though we did get a brief all caps invitation. But the other thing is to remember is in Iowa, city government is nonpartisan. We don't run by party. Now, I appreciate counties do. I happen to think they shouldn't. I think that should be nonpartisan, but that's just my view. So when we're up here, we've got to think of what is in the best interest of the city and the taxpayer. And so, you know, there are times, I think each of us, of course, just like any other citizen, has our own political views.
Right.
But there are times where, speaking for myself and I imagine everybody else, where what's in the best interest of the city may not be in the best interest of my particular political persuasion, and I got to choose what's in the best interest of the city, and that's what we have to do. And I'd like to think everybody does that in the world, but I'm not naive either. But I think locally we do a good job in that. I think plenty of us have made both parties mad.
Well, and the thing is, not everybody, you're not going to make everybody happy.
No.
But I think that a lot of things that happened, such as this building, you know, and they knew it was going to be short, and HGM said it can be built for this amount of money. That's their words. It can be built for this amount of money. Then you know what? We need to hold HGM accountable for it. They're the ones that put the blueprint out. They're the ones that said it can be built for this. Then make them accountable for it. If I do a bid on a job and they say this is what I can do it for, and it comes in for another $10,000 more, well, guess what? I'm going to have to eat that. I've got to be accountable for it.
And again, Al, we don't know. I know the architect from HGM said that it can't be built for that and to hold off. They didn't even go out for bids, so
Well, then maybe we ought to go. Was HGM already paid for their blueprints?
I assume they were.
Well, maybe they shouldn't have been, and it should have went out for other bids. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I appreciate, you know, having this discussion. It doesn't sound like there was. Again, I wasn't at it. I can only go by what the paper says and what people have said to me who were at the meeting. Because again, they're not televised and they're during the workday. And we had, as Sharon said, we were hosts of all the other cities in Iowa at the League of Cities down at the Mid-America Center, actually making quite a bit of money for the city for them paying to have it here at our fine convention center. But it doesn't, unless it's been misreported, and you know, that happens, so I don't know. It sounds like the discussion was primarily by some, not all, but some of the county elected officials was about whether they should sue the city for the delay. And I'm disturbed by that if that's how it occurred, because the question is, let's talk about this substantive issue, and it doesn't sound like they reached it. And here you've had an opportunity to speak to that very issue. I think everyone had the opportunity to speak to it. And it doesn't sound like it happened there, and that's not a partisan attack. I just think that's bad government. I don't care about party.
Or it's bad in the way to run the nonpareil.
Well, you know, I've had
sorry,
plenty.
you know.
I've had plenty to criticize about the paper, and on that, I will say that I thought it was shameful to say that a paper could make one side of the story, an argument, and then call time and say that's it. Nobody else gets to talk. On that, they were completely wrong, and it's shameful. And I've said so, and I'll continue to say so. On that,
The
they were
person that
wrong.
wrote it, he needs to face up with what he wrote.
I agree with you.
You know, and say, hey, this is what the side of the story that I got. I never got the other side. Let's hear both parties, because there's always two stories to one.
I just wish the other party would give their side.
Thank you very much.
Just to note, I did attend that meeting, that county meeting along with Mr. Wade, and Mr. Schmidt spoke to the board and retracted the statements that were attributed to a particular supervisor. Said that those were not correct statements, and he basically retracted the story at that time. And the only reference, there's only a brief reference to the possibility of any legal action. It certainly was not a central focus of that meeting, and I think that the county was trying to publicly address some of the concerns that have been expressed in the story.
Thank you.
There absolutely was there. Anybody else would like to address the council? Lenny?
If Mr. Wayman was here, I'd like to talk to him after the meeting. I
Okay.
have the packet for tomorrow's planning commission meeting.
All right.
Lenny
can you give your
Scaletta,
name?
2025 31st Avenue. I'll just keep it short. I just appreciate everything you're doing. Al, thanks for coming to the meeting at the county meeting, and just please do everything you can to expedite this. As you know, I was discriminated as a Vietnam veteran coming, a soldier coming back in the Navy, and you know, it just keeps going. There's just, you know, we're getting bashed, and it seems to be okay to do that, and I don't like it, but just, I ask you just, please do everything you can to expedite this and get it going as soon as possible.
Will do.
And Nate and Matt and Al, if you're in a bar wearing those pink shirts, stay away from me. Thank you.
Thank you all for your service. If there's nothing else, meeting is adjourned.
At Council Bluffs Savings Bank, we take pride in our community, volunteering our time to helping individuals, families, and businesses succeed. We are Council Bluffs people operating a Council Bluffs bank to help Council Bluffs be a better place to work and live. Hometown banking, the way it used to be.